So, last section concentrates on applications of decimals. Now, granted, we've been doing word problems just about in every single section. So, we've done a lot of applications. Some of the applications that we're going to be working with today are either specific to placement tests or specific to just things that you would do in your day-to-day work, day-to-day livelihood, day-to-day workings. So most of these will involve multiplying and dividing, but there are a couple things in which adding and subtracting are going to be involved. So with that, let's start off with some that are just adding and subtracting. So these are applications with adding or subtracting. So, of course, one primary application with adding or subtracting is finding the perimeter. Find a perimeter of something. So if I'm finding the perimeter of something, what am I doing? If I give you a shape and tell you to find the perimeter. Yes, add all the sides. Perimeter add all the sides. So there's a triangle, 4.21 centimeters, 7.96 centimeters, 5.3 centimeters. So if I give you a shape and simply ask you to give me the perimeter, you can do that. Add all the numbers up. So, since it's an addition problem, what you'll do is line all the decimals up. Line all the decimals up and start adding. So remember, every number should have something on top of it and something below it. So anything that's not following that, put it to 0. Fill in with the 0. But other than that, adding is easy peasy. 1, 0, and 6, 7. 2, 3, and 9, 14. 1 and 4 is 5. That's 5 is 10. 7, 17. There's your point. So that's your point. So perimeter is a worthwhile application. When you own your own house one day, if you want to put a fence up, you're putting it around the perimeter of your house. Fence goes around the perimeter. Or you want flowers in your backyard and you want to put them around the lining of your property. Perimeter. So, any questions? Example number 1. A lot of what we're doing today is scenario based. All right, another application of adding and subtracting. Shopping. Going to shop and going to buy stuff. So, when was the last time someone went to the mall? Anybody on here? The last time you went to the mall?
8 months ago.
A couple months ago? Alright. What did you buy?
I bought some first, like, I bought some
Went to the mall and bought some snacks?
Yeah.
Alright, what kind of snacks?
I got more pretzel.
Alright, so you got you a pretzel. Got you a cheese dip. Did you get anything to drink?
Yeah, like a soda.
Got you a drink. What else did you buy?
Bought some shorts.
Bought some shorts. Alright. So let's say his pretzel was $3.40. Cheese dip was 70 cents. Drink, $2.15. His shorts were $43.80. So I want to know what was the total amount you spent, and how much change if you used a $100 bill. So those are the two things I want to know. So total amount spent and change. So how am I going to find those two things? Alright, so I'm going to add all the things that you went and bought up. So $3.40, 70 cents, $2.15, $43.80. So we got to add all those up. So above this 4, we're going to put all the zeros. We got 5, 4, 11, 12, 20, 2, 5, 7, 2, 5, 7, 10. You spent $50.05. So not bad for a visit to the mall. But now I want to find change. How do I get change?
Subtract.
Now it's a subtraction problem. So $100 minus $50.05. And the reason why I chose 100 is so that we can practice the multiple times in which you have to borrow. You can't take 5 from 0, but you can't borrow off of a 0. So the 1 becomes a 0, and the first 0 becomes a 10. but that 10 has to become a 9, but the other 0 can become a 10. That 10 has to become a 9, so that the other 0 can become a 10. That 10 has to become a 9, the other 0 has to become a 10. Now, we can actually subtract. So 5, 9, 9, 4. There's your change. That's it. I'm good. Now, trust me, these are very, very simple problems. I get that they're simple. They're probably really simple if you have one of these sitting directly in front of you. Let's remove that and see how simple it is and how easy it is to make a mistake. Especially if you've ever worked at a cashier and you gotta have your drawer totaled up at the end of the night. Some of you all know what I'm talking about. Let that drawer not come out right. It's coming out of somebody's paycheck. And you know it's not coming out of the owners or the managers. So, any questions before we continue? I know you know how to do it. Blow this up a little bit too. So, next one we're going to do. Everyone should know a little something about this. Earnings. How much did I make by being at work? Trust me, no one is working for free. We all have bills to pay. Things to do or things to take care of. So, earnings. Number of hours times your hourly wage. Total earnings. So, someone in here who works a job, tell me how much you make an hour.
12.
Alright, so Jalen earns $12.50 an hour. $12.50 an hour. So Jalen, roughly how many days do you work a week?
Around
3. Roughly how many hours can you pull in a week?
30.
Well, okay, the last week that you worked, roughly how many hours did you work? If you had to estimate.
I think it was like 10 or 12.
10 or 12? Alright, so earnings.
Nah, it was 20. It was 20. Okay.
So earnings for a 20-hour week. That's what we're going to find. So how much did you earn for a 20-hour week? Now, we can always take $12.50 and add it 20 times. If you got that much time on your hands. Or take 20 and multiply it times 12.50. Just like for the problem that's up above it, you would have taken 750 and multiplied it times 20. but I did it this way to make it something that's applicable to you. So, let's work it out. 1250 times 20 hours. 1250 times 20 hours. So, when you multiply the way you normally would. So for the 0, that's simple. Everything times 0 is 0. You have all zeros. Now we're moving from the 0 to the 2. So we need the placeholder. Now we multiply it by 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down the 0, carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 1, 2. Then you add. So, are we finished with this problem? Did Jalen make $25,000? You gotta drop the decimal down. He wishes he made $25,000 over the 20-hour length. So, the first number had 2 decimal places. Second number had no decimal places. That means your answer has to have 2 decimal places. $250. I know Jalen wish it had 1 decimal place. $2,500 sounds real good. But $250. Jalen, don't worry. I see within 5-10 years you'll be making that 25K if you want.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing tech, then you might want to add another 0 to that. You'll probably get 250 to 1,000. So, one thing I'll tell you, and Ms. Weiss probably agree with that, is we all want to make as much money as possible. Just know that the more you make, Uncle Sam is just looking at it and saying, yep, you keep going. You keep going making all that money. That's more money we can take in taxes. Just know. Just know, you're making more money? That's great. That's more money they take in taxes. So, next example, and then we'll take a short break. Circumference of a circle. So the circumference of a circle, that's the perimeter of a circle. So circumference is a fancy name for perimeter. So the circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. So pi is 3.14. So the circumference is 6.28 times the radius. Times the radius. So, there are 2 ways that this problem could manifest itself. So we're going to do both ways. One in which you're given the radius and you find the circumference. The other when you're given the circumference and you got to find the radius. So let's work the problem the way we have it. A Icicle wheel has a radius of 12 inches. What is the circumference of the wheel? So you have a wheel, radius 12 inches. So your circumference is 6.28 times 12. That's the computation we're going to do. 6.28 times 12. So the computation part, that's the easy part. 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 2, 4, plus 1, 5. 6 times 2, 12. Placeholder, keep multiplying. 1 times 8, 8. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 6, 6. Add everything else. 6, 3, 2 plus 2, 4, plus 4, 5, and 7. So the only thing that you're missing is the decimal. So 2 decimal places, no decimal places, which means your answer needs 2 decimal places. There you go. 75.36 inches. Any questions before we work it the other way around?
I have a question.
Okay.
So, oh wait, never mind. I just answered my own question.
Okay, that works. All right. So again, let's do it the other way around. So the other way around is when you are starting with the circumference and you have to find the radius. So let's say you have a circle or a bicycle wheel. You don't know what the radius is, but they told you that the circumference is 15.7.
Mr. Lowe,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have problems with my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So, the notes on Google Classroom.
The notes handout is on Google Classroom. You'll have to wait until I post it to get the notes that you missed. So you can pull the ones that are up there now. We're working with the circumference of a circle. All right. So circumference is 15.7. We need to find the radius. So now we work the problem backwards. So instead of multiplying, we're going to divide. So it all depends on what you started with. If you're starting with the radius and you're looking for the circumference, you multiply. If you're starting with the circumference and you need to get the radius, you divide. So you're going to get the radius, you're going to take the circumference. So now you're going to divide out. you're going to take the circumference and divide by 6.28. So now you're doing it backwards. How do you know which one you're going to do? First, you got to read the problem, and then two, you got to look at what it's asking for. Reading is very, very fundamental. So the radius is 15.7 divided by 6.28. So we're going to divide decimals. Set it up using the box. 15.7 goes in. 6.28 goes out. So before you start dividing, what do you have to do with 6.28? Change it to a whole number. So this decimal has to move over. So the decimal moves twice. So this decimal moves twice. I have a blank space. So what goes in the blank space?
0.
0 goes there. So you're doing 628, 1570 with a decimal point behind. I hope we've got our calculators ready to deal with this large number. Alright, so 628 cannot divide into 1, can't divide into 15, and it can't divide into 157. How many times does 628 go into 1,570? That calculator over there.
Twice.
Let's try 2 times. Twice.
It will be 1256.
Thank you so much. You saved me from having to do this, which I had already started. 1256. So that becomes a 6. That becomes 10, 4, 1, 3. Well, I've got a remainder. Put a 0, bring it down, keep going. How many times does 628 go into 3,140? With that big number magic. 628. 5 times. 628 times 5. 0, 4, 1. That's 3,140. Remainder of 0. That takes care of itself. So your radius is 2.5. I didn't give it any units, so make it inches. So we did one example in which you had the radius and found the circumference, and then we did another example in which we did it the other way around. So before we go on to another scenario, let's give you a couple minutes to take a break. So pause my recorder. 2 minutes. Back on. Here we go. So, next concept that you might come across, area of a rectangle. This one's not a might. You're going to. You use the area of a rectangle a lot, especially if you're working in a house, if you want carpet in your house, want tile in your house, want hardwood flooring in your house. You're going to find the area of the rectangular portion of that house that you want that flooring on and price you out that way. So area is length times width. No bones about that. So find the area of the rectangle that has a width of 1.5 and a length of 3.6. So your area, length times width. So that's 1.5 times 3.6. So straightforward multiplication problem. 6 times 5, 30. 6 times 1, 3. Then 6 times 1, 6. Plus 3, that's 9. 3 times 5, 15. 3 times 1, 3. Plus 1, 4. Add everything up. So 540 is my answer, right? You gotta put the decimal point in there. 1.5 has 1 decimal point. 3.6 has 1 decimal point. So your answer has to have 2 decimal points. So your area is 5.4. 5.4, and that's square centimeters. Or you can write it as centimeters squared. So, know that if you can do it forwards, you can also do it backwards. So now let's do it the other way around. Say you have a rectangle. You don't know what the width is. You don't know what the width is. You know that the length is 0.9 feet, and you know that the area is equal to 3.753 feet squared. So I know the length, but I don't know the width. What do you think I'm going to have to do? Now it's a division problem. So if you're missing the length or the width, you're going to have to divide. So the width is the area divided by the length, which would be 3.753 divided by 0.9. Not everything in geometry class was horrible. Some of y'all should know I taught you geometry. .753 and 0.9. So, can I start dividing?
You have to make the point 9 and 9.
Make the point 9 and 9. What else I gotta do?
sides. 37.
So move the decimal on the other side, 37.53. Let's go ahead and knock this out. 9 can't go into 3. How many times is 9 going to 37?
4 times.
4 times. 4 times 9, 36. 37 minus 36 is 1. Bring down to 5. How many times is 9 going to 15? 1 time. 1 times 9 is 9. Subtract, you get 6. 9 goes into 63. How many times?
7 times.
7 times. So 4.17 feet. That's your width. Those of you who are going off to college, if you are trying to figure out where do they get the amount for your room and board, it's based off the area of your dorm, area of your room. The area of your room helps determine how much your room and board is going to be. Questions before we do one more set? So again, most of these are fairly simple examples. There's fairly simple things that you encounter on the day-to-day. So, last one that we're going to look at. Gas mileage. So, gas mileage, that's important. You want to drive a car that's not sucking up all of your gas. Yes, Dodge Chargers are very nice cars. They are gas guzzling cars too. I love a Dodge Charger, but I'm not going to drive one because I'll be filling up gas every 2 days.
That's lunch. No, I ain't get that here. Okay.
Not getting that either. Gas guzzler. I can't have a gas guzzling car.
How about that?
Does it suck up gas?
That definitely sucks up gas.
And I don't want it.
So, some of them Honda. Oh.
It's okay. Y'all gonna be selling these low gas, these not so popular cars short. The only thing you need to know about a car is it paid off? If it's paid off, I don't care what. So gas mileage. Take the number of gallons, multiply it times how much you can get per gallon. That's the total miles you can get. So we're going to use my car as an example. So Mr. Lowe's car. So I drive a Toyota Camry. So my Toyota Camry gets 32 miles per gallon. So I want to know how many miles I can go if I have 14.6 gallons of gas. 14.6 for me is about 3/4 of the tank. So I know how much gas I have. I know the miles per gallon. So my total miles equals 14.6 times 32. Now, especially since I'm trying to go and work a baseball tournament and I'm going to drive there, that's what I'm going to need to calculate. 14.6 times 32. Easy calculation. 6 times 2, 12. 4 times 2, 8, plus 1, 9. 1 times 2, 2. Put my placeholder. 6 times 3, 18. So I carry a 1. 3 times 4, 12, plus 1, 13. 3 times 1, 3, plus 1, 4. So 2, 17, 6, and 4. What am I missing? I know I can't get 4,672 gallons. Miles.
Should include it as,
Sound like you just woke up. 1 decimal. So 467.2 miles. So basically, I can drive from here to Indianapolis, which is where my tournament is, on just the gas that is in my car. Which is good because Indiana gas is cheaper and I was gonna fill up there. Any questions so far?
yeah, no.
Huh?
Off of that,
So you know to multiply in this scenario if you know how many gallons of gas you have and you know the number of miles you get per gallon. Now, if you are missing the gallons or missing the miles per gallon, but you know how many miles you drove, then it becomes a division problem. A lot like the problem that's typed up there, which is what we're going to do. Starting with a full tank of gas, last week Jackie drove her car 324 miles and it took 13.5 gallons to refill the tank. Jackie's car averaged how many miles per gallon that week? So I know how many gallons, I know how far I went, I just don't know how many miles I'm getting per gallon. So to figure out MPG, you take your total miles and you divide it by the number of gallons you have. Or if you were working for the number of gallons, you would take the total miles and divide it by how how many miles you get per gallon. It depends on what you're being asked. So anything with a word problem, you've got to read it so that you know, well, what are they asking? So let's wrap this one on up. So this would be, you're looking for miles per gallon. 324 divided by 13.5. So it's a division problem. So what do I have to do first? Good. Another trick question.
What it is.
Move the decimal place.
Change from 13.5 times to 35 and change it from 324 to 4 zeros.
3,240. So move the decimal, and then move the decimal. Since 324 didn't have a decimal, put a 1 at the end, and then fill in the 0. Okay, so now it's time to solve out. So 135 can't divide into 3, can't divide into 32. How many times does 135 go into 324?
Twice.
Okay, so 2 times. That would be accurate. You got 4, you got a borrow, and a 5. Bring down your 0. What about how many times will 135 go into 540?
4 times.
That's 4 times. So 4 times 135 is 540. 0. That's 24 miles per gallon. So if you can get 24 miles per gallon, I would say that you have a pretty decent car. It's no fun to drive here and there and everywhere if you got to fill up every day. Drinking up all your money. The car's drinking up all your money. All right. Questions before we close up shop? Uh-huh.
So like every time, so we don't have the gallons, so we have like like total miles per gallon. That
So if you know the gallons and the miles per gallon, then you can multiply them to get total miles. If you're missing the gallons, then you got to know how many miles you drove, which becomes a division problem. If you don't know the miles per gallon, then you got to know the total miles, and then that becomes a division problem. So the only way it can stay multiplication is if you already know the gallons and you already know the miles per gallon.
Okay. Yeah, like in most cases, my job actually does
50-50. So since there's 3 different scenarios, there's actually 33%, 33 to 30%. So it can fall in any of those 3 categories. No problem. Anyone else? Questions, comments, concerns, complaints?
Just to clarify, you're not supposed to teach, right? Correct.
I'm gonna post these once the video saves itself, yes.